Hi there, I'm Hollywood actor and red meat enthusiast Sam Neill, star of acclaimed films Jurassic Park 3 and Jurassic Park 4, Revenge of the Dinobots. Today I'll be taking you all through a journey of cinematic sins and scientific mishaps to see which films put the dopiness into pseudoscience. Here are 3 of the scientific errors which regularly grace our screens.
3. We possess a gigantic network of information to which we have almost no access.
And you know how they say that we can only access 20% of our brain? Well, what this does, it lets you access all of it.
Movies like to tell viewers that we only use a tiny portion of our brain, and if the remaining 80 or 90% could be unlocked, then we would attain superhuman potential. But is there any truth in this myth? It seems that, in fact, we probably use all of our brain much of the time, and much of our brain all of the time. When you think about it, it wouldn't make sense if 90% of our brain wasn't functional, because if that were the case, brain damage and disease wouldn't be nearly as detrimental. In reality, there isn't an area of the brain that can be damaged or diseased without some sort of physical or mental consequence, suggesting that every part of the brain is in use. We are even now able to use neuroimaging to actually see the brain in action. What we see from these images is that nearly every region of the brain lights up during even the simplest of tasks, like walking and talking. So it would seem that in the absence of damage to the brain, we are all able to use it to the fullest of its ability. However, this does not mean that we shouldn't strive to reach our mental potential and fill our brains with as much knowledge as possible.
Charging. Ready? 200.
Clear. Give me these things! You're gonna kill him! Clear! Clear! No pulse, Coop. Crank up the voltage. 10,000 volts! Clear! Clear! Up to 15,000! 15,000 volts! No! Clear!
Did someone say magic defibrillator?
No.
This little box is regularly used to rescue people on the brink of death in every medical TV show ever. But will a defibrillator restart a heart that has stopped beating? While defibrillators are very useful instruments for medical practitioners, they are not used when a patient's heart flatlines. Instead, CPR should be administered in this case. A defibrillator is used during ventricular fibrillation, or ventricular tachycardia, to actually shock the patient into asystole, causing their heart to stop, and then letting their heart start beating again on its own. Therefore, what is happening is actually the opposite of what most people believe, and what most media portray.
Clear! Clear! Get out!
1.
Sci-fi movies often like to replace the outdated bullet-firing gun with something a little more impressive, such as a laser gun. There is actually some substance to this technology as a future form of weaponry, however, not in the way that it is commonly depicted on the screen. The beam of light that is shot out of a laser gun is just that, light, and as a result would travel far quicker than the eye can perceive. So instead of looking like this, what we'd see would probably look a bit more like this. Of course, this may not be quite as visually appealing, so you can see why films and TV shows might want to liven things up a bit. Which brings us to the penultimate question. Do films have the responsibility to present an accurate depiction of scientific concepts? When a film ventures into scientific territory and asserts a level of seriousness, it is critiqued in a totally different way. There is a kind of expectation that sci-fi films have a moral obligation to educate. But isn't the greatest thing about going to the movies the fact that you get to suspend your disbelief for 90 minutes? Sure, it can be annoying when films perpetuate myths like we only use 10% of our brain, or when they use a lazy plot device like a magic defibrillator, but if films didn't take artistic licenses, we wouldn't have the epic battles with laser guns and big, loud explosions in space. At the end of the day, there are millions of reasons why a film can be bad, from bad acting to bad screenplay to bad narrative, but a bad film and a film with scientific errors are not synonymous. If the only thing you can find wrong with a film is its depiction of a particular scientific concept, then maybe the film isn't the problem, and maybe you should stop using 100% of your brain so you can just sit back and enjoy.
You have failed me for the last time.
I went to the defibrillator!